Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om. May Brahman protect us both. May Brahman bestow upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling toward each other. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Pada Padme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Om Sthapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. So, in our last class, we discussed some points. One point is concept of an avatara. When, why, how of an avatara. And what Shankaracharya said in his introduction to the Gita Bhashyam, and what Swami Vivekananda also has said. Then, most important, differences between a jiva and an avatara. I think we discussed about 7 or 8 differences. 9 differences. Yeah. Now, one point here we need to add to this. Even among the liberated people, Jivan Muktas, there is a difference is there. So, how do we Hindus differentiate between liberated souls? So, 4 main differences: Jivan Mukta, Acharya, Ishvara Koti, and Avatara. And according to Swamiji, there is one more, even much superior. There are great people, even greater than Avatar Purushas, but the world doesn't know anything about them. So, what is the difference between these 4? Is there any difference so far as knowledge is concerned? It is absolutely same. So, what is the difference then? Shakti Bheda. Shakti means what? Power. The power, there is a difference. A Jivan Mukta can only help very few people. Ramakrishna's illustration, if you remember, that a small stick floating in the river, even if a small bird sits upon it, then it itself will drown. Drown means it won't be caught, but it will have difficulty. Whereas an avatara is like a huge ship, which not only carries thousands of people, even hundreds of vehicles, cars, trucks, etc. it will also take. This is the difference is Shakti Bheda. Another way of understanding an avatar Purusha is the influence of a Jivan Mukta will be limited to the particular locality and for a short time. After some time, slowly it will fade away. Whereas an Acharya is having much more power. For example, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Vallabhacharya, Saint Augustine, Saint Paul, or Saint Francis of Assisi. Even today, you can see that they are capable of helping people in transforming themselves. Now, Shakti Veda means difference in the power. What do you mean by power? What is their power? So most of the Jivan Muktas or Avatar Purusha, this power works in two ways. They can fulfill the desires of devotees, even worldly desires. Even ordinary Jivan Mukta can also give some money or whatever. Why? How can he give? So there is a beautiful Shastra Pramana, a authoritative statement. Pramana means authoritative statement in the scriptures. Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. A knower of God becomes God. A knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. If somebody becomes Brahman, Brahman is capable of fulfilling anybody's desire. So he can give, but only in a very small quantity. Small things he can give, not bigger things. Whereas an Acharya, his influence is much more. Now just as an illustration, Shankaracharya. Every Acharya had his own powers. I am quoting from Shankaracharya. When he was a small boy, as you know the story, he went to beg as a brahmachari to a widow. And that widow was very poor and she didn't have anything excepting a dried amlaki, gooseberry, amlaki. So she felt bad. A brahmachari had come to my home and I had nothing to give. And she gives that and says, "My child, this is all I have, please accept it." Immediately he felt Shankaracharya. As a boy, he has not become Acharya, he was only a brahmachari. Then he prayed to Mother Lakshmi. Angam harehe pulakabhushanam ashrayanti bhringanganheva mukulabharanam tamalam angikrita akhila rapanga leela. This is called Kanaka Dhara Stava. Kanaka means gold. Dhara means Vrishti. So even today, people chant it if they want money. Yeah. So many means are there. Immediately, there was a rain of golden gooseberries all over her compound. Now, you may think this is a story which is cock and bull story, because we are in this age, we do not easily believe. What about Sri Ramakrishna granting to Upendranath Mukhopadhyay? Okay, that took some time. Not immediately the Lakshmi did not rain. But there is a miraculous story in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. One of his devotees, I forget his name, he was pickpocketed. Pickpocketed. So what does that prove? Pickpockets were there even at that time. So somebody's salary, 300 rupees, was pickpocketed and he was very poor. I think, what was his name? Anyway, doesn't really matter. So Holy Mother narrates this story. Then he goes to the banks of the Ganges and prays to Thakur, what have you done? That means, why did you allow this pickpocketing to be taken? How am I going to look after my family? Then after some time, Sri Ramakrishna appeared and said, "Why are you weeping? Your money is there under the rock on the bank of the Ganges." This man ran, lifted the stone, and there was his 300 rupees. Now, who is the greater pickpocket? Even now, I can't solve the mysterious question that came. Was it a fresh 300 rupees? Or had he taken that 300 rupees from that pickpocket and put it there, transported it? So, miracles happen even today. We should never disbelieve. And on Sunday afternoons, our topic, what is the topic? All about miracles, siddhis. And why did such a great soul like Patanjali enumerate all those things? It's because it is all real. It happened in Swamiji's life, Mother's life, Thakur's life, direct disciples' life, every saint's life. whenever they feel pity upon the devotees, they perform this kind of miracles. But the important thing is they have that power. So acharyas have much more power. Even today, the philosophy, the doctrines of Saint Augustine, Saint Paul, Saint Peter, Saint Francis, and for monks, Thomas A. Kempis or Brother Lawrence, we all read that book, Practice of the Presence of God. It is helping us. What about Shankaracharya, Ramanuja? The whole India spiritually is divided between these three. And who do you think is the king of India? Which Acharya? No. Ramanujacharya and Madhva, they share both. Ramanuja's influence is much more prevalent. Shankaracharya's influence is only prevalent among intellectuals, professors, monks, and practical day-to-day life. It is the Ramanujacharya who rules. And there is a reason for that. The reason is, in the South Indian temples, the system of worship was established by whom? By Ramanujacharya. Yeah, there is also a funny story. It was Ramanujacharya who made transgender operation on goddess at Tirupati. In Tirupati, it was a goddess. Later on, he transformed it into a god from female to the male. That's what I said, transgender operation. He had done that. So, but his influence is there. People just give up their lives in the name of Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, etc. In a way of speaking, we are all followers of Ramanujacharya in practice. All the devotees are Visishtadvaita. Sri Ramakrishna said, I accept that, I accept this. So, in what way we are following Ramanujacharya? But we know only one marga. What is that? Prapatti marga. Complete self-surrender. That is the best teaching of Sri Ramakrishna for all of us, whether we are Advaitins or Dvaitins or whatever it is. So, Acharyas. Then higher than these Acharyas, there is one class. They are called Ishvara Kotis Nitya Muktas. Whenever an incarnation comes, and occasionally separately, they come without even the incarnation. So these people, they have much more influence. And what do? So what they do, they take up the teachings of Avatara and give them a firm shape. For example, Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, who gave them a firm shape? It was Swamiji. So who established Ramakrishna order? Swamiji. Who established the Christian monastic system? Who was responsible? Saint Paul. He was responsible. Buddha's system. So his disciple through Ananda, and then the whole Buddhistic organization has come. So that is what they do. Even though the avatar Purushas themselves, very often is found that they do not directly do, they do a little local teaching. For example, Buddha taught only in that area, what is called, what now is called Bihar. Bihar means Vihara. Vihara has become Bihar. So that was a very small locality. But Buddhism now is so prevalent all over the world. As the means of communication has improved and Buddha's teachings are spreading. So also Sri Ramakrishna was fortunate, just before this globalization, he came. Therefore, his teachings were put there and they spread. So that is the reason. Previously it took time for people to spread their teachings. But now Christianity, for example. So you see, Jesus Christ, how much area did he travel? Very little area. But his teachings were taken by his apostles and then spread over. And now it is spreading everywhere because of communications facility. Okay. So this is the Ishvara Koti. What is their special function? They take up, they teach the life and teachings of the Avatara Purushas and give them a firmer shape. Okay. Who is the last, highest, in a way of speaking? Avatara Purushas. They are like sutras, aphorisms. They are what is called storehouses of enormous power. And the others, what do? They take a little bit of it and then spread. For example, I am taking this class. Whose power is that? Whose life are we discussing? So what is my contribution? Nothing original. I am taking it from Sri Ramakrishna, from the scriptures, and I am presenting it to you as I understand it. So if somebody else comes whose understanding is much better and whose presentation is also superior, that person will be able to help many more people. This is how we have to understand. I think it's getting a bit darker. That light also can just put on. Yeah. So this is, first we discussed the difference between a bound soul and an avatara. Second, now we have added to that what among the liberated also there are 4 differences are there. If we have to believe Swami Vivekananda, there is another type. The world never knows about them. They just sit in a secret place, a cave, and they just whole life think about, and that will spread all over the world for a long time. Now, in this class, we are going to discuss few important points. First point is, what is a Shastra or a scripture or Veda? Second point, why Swami Vivekananda himself did not write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. And third point is, how this book came to be written. And after these points are clarified, we will go back, and I sent some notes, I think, so you have got it. Okay, these are the main points we are going to discuss. First, what is Veda or a scripture, Shastra? Shastra, the very word Shastra, for those who know Sanskrit, Shasati iti Shastra. Shasati means what? That which commands, jo shasan karta hai. Shasti bole na? Shasti means what? Punishment. Punishment means what? You have not done this properly, you should have done this, you should not have done that. That is what Shasati iti Shastraha. Two definitions are there. And because many of you know Sanskrit, I am giving. For those who want English translation, I will give. That which commands, do this and do not do this. One definition of Shastra. Second definition of Shastra is Ajnata Gnapakam Shastram. That which remains unknown to ordinary human beings having 5 sense organs, that knowledge, the scripture is one who conveys us that knowledge which cannot be obtained through our 5 sense organs. Ajnata Gnapakam are hidden teachings, hidden knowledge, that which gives us, brings out hidden knowledge, that is called Shastra. In this connection also, who is a Rishi? We'll be discussing it shortly, later on. I am quoting now from Swamiji. And very interesting is, Hinduism and Sri Ramakrishna by Swami Vivekananda was bodily taken by Swami Saradananda in his great master. When he started writing, this is how he had quoted it in the beginning. And then he wrote also, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, original great master in Bengali, 5 volumes, like the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. But these 5 volumes didn't come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 4, 1, 2, 5. 3, 4, 1, 2, 5. And he explained also, we will come to that later on. I am now quoting from Swami Vivekananda. I think this also notes, I hope you have read, because I expect you to read it so that we can proceed. Otherwise, we will be stuck there only. By the word Shastra, scripture, the Vedas without beginning or end are meant. So, in matters of religious duty, the Vedas are the only capable authority. What Swamiji means by this, that to do this and do not do that, it is called religion. Why is it called religion? We don't know the past, we don't know the future. And we are now in this condition. Why? Because of what we did in the past. And if we analyze our life, none of us would say, I would like to be here. All of our quest is, I would like to be somewhere else. That means I would like to be in a place where I would be much more happier. Here means not geographical location, circumstance, status also. Old people say, I wish I were younger. An unhealthy person's desire is, I wish I were healthy. A poor person, I wish I were. So, none of us are satisfied. Why? Because I also gave a definition. Why should we study the scriptures? Or why should we become philosophers? Philosophy. Tapatraya abhighatat jignasa. Inquiry into higher things originates from because of intolerable, unremediable suffering from three afflictions: Adhyatmika, Adhidaivika and Adhibhautika. This is the truth. Okay. So, first, Shastra means the Vedas without beginning or end. Swamiji says, truth is of two kinds. That which is obtained by the five ordinary senses of man and by reasoning based thereupon. Very important. All our knowledge, scientific knowledge or whatever, comes from two bases. What is first is observation, collect, and then you sit down, sift them, and then come to some conclusions. How do you come? What is the instrument employed? No, reasoning. Because mind comes to know about the conclusions after the reason comes. So if this is so, then this must be the conclusion, like that. Okay. So truth is of two kinds. What is two kinds? Knowledge obtained through the five sense organs and applied reason to that data, and then come to some conclusion. Right or wrong depends upon two factors: the correctness of the data as well as the correctness of the reasoning. Second, that which is cognizable by the subtle supersensuous power of yoga, intuition, in other words. That is to say, five sense organs and our ordinary mind is of absolutely no use. Intuition. What is intuition? Until we transcend the five sense organs, until that time you have to be in tuition. Don't expect intuition. First in tuition. Attend the class. That's what it means. Yeah, tuition means what? Tutored by somebody else. Yeah. Okay, here very important, Swamiji is telling. Knowledge acquired by the first means is called science. So datum itself is not worthy to be called science. That is, you gather some information, that is not called science. When does it obtain that honorable name called science? When it is sifted through reason and comes some what is called incontrovertible conclusions. That means it is applicable to everybody. Ordinary data can be interpreted by so many people in so many ways, whereas that which is got by applying science, it is unchangeable in the ordinary sense. It applies to everybody. H2O is H2O for everybody, whether a person, whatever language he speaks, whatever age he comes in. So that is why it is called science. So, what is the second thing? Knowledge acquired by the second, means intuition, is called the Veda. That's why it is called Veda. Means the very word, Sanskrit word Veda means knowledge. Veda means knowledge. That's why with Vidaha we call it Brahma with. That with, how did it come? Yeah, from with root came the word Veda, to know. With means to know. Brahmavit means knower of Brahman, with to know. Okay, from with only comes Vitta. Vitta means what?
Knowledge.
Dhanam. Vitta means dhanam, money. So if you don't have knowledge, it is not going to come. Yeah. Yes, you say, for simple example I am giving, it so profound. So you say, no, I did not know anything, I just bought a lottery ticket and I won. Vedanta doesn't accept it. You won because you knew what was dharma and you practiced dharma in the past, and that result we are obtaining right now. This is the explanation. And you did not know what was wrong and you did it, and now you are suffering because of that. So this is the logic that goes there. So Swamiji is telling that knowledge acquired by the first means five sense organs is called science, and knowledge acquired by the second is called Veda. The whole body of supersensuous truths having no beginning or end are called by the name of Veda and is ever existent. Vedas are called, very important point, because we will be acquiring knowledge of Vedanta too by these discussions. So Vedas are beginningless, anadi. Anadi means what? Anadi means beginningless. What there is a law, whatever is beginningless is also endless. If Maya, this world, is beginningless, it is also endless. But we are trying to do sadhana. What happens? What is meant is, it is unending for an ignorant person, but it is ending for a knowledgeable person. How does it end? Maya doesn't end. We get out of Maya. So long as we are in samsara, we are called, what are we called? Saris. And you want to be in samsara and not have any sorrow. That's not possible. You get out. You get out of Maya. When you get out of Maya, Maya no longer affects us. That is the reasoning employed here. This Veda is called Ananta. And they are also, since they are beginningless, they are also called Apaurushaya, means not human creations. So, what is the difference? What is a human creation? Human creation means created by a human being. Whenever a human being creates something, 2 points you have to understand. The person who creates is also started his life only at a particular point of time. He is limited by time, bound by time. So, whatever is bound by time, whatever that person produces, is it bound by time or not?
Yes.
So, science is like that. Why? Science is the creation of
Human being.
creation in the sense, not invention, discovery. That's why it is called Paurusheya, human creation. Whereas Veda is not a human creation. Why? Because it is already there. Now here also another point is, creation means it was not there before and it is now there. Whereas this anadi means, beginningless means what? It is there, already there. And so you don't call a person who had pointed out something, okay, I have seen this one, you don't call him, he is created. He is called, what is he called? Discoverer. It is there and you did not know all this time and you discovered. Like Newton's creation of, what is called discovery of gravitation. Gravitation was not a creation. Not that gravitation was not existing before, he merely discovered it. So, whoever discovers that superhuman knowledge, what is he called? Rishi. Rishi. Not whoever discovers ordinary knowledge, he is called a scientist or inventor, whatever it is. But do you know who is an inventor? It is not something he invents new. He combines already existing things in a new way. He is called an inventor. So there is nothing new in this world. Okay, coming back.
In this sense, the law of gravitation holds true only when certain conditions, i.e., this phenomenal world and the forces around it, the way they are arranged, it holds true in that sense. So in that context, it's also a knowledge. It's also limited knowledge in that sense.
Yeah. It is also limited knowledge because now science has discovered a way by which one can defy gravity, at least for a short time. When something is sent into the space, so how does it get out of this gravitational force? They have found it out under certain circumstances. Our point here is that knowledge already exists. Whether it is secular knowledge or spiritual knowledge, already exists. It is already there. Now I will tell you why it is so. That's very important for us. Here is a table. Supposing, how do you know that here is a table? How do you know it's a table?
We can see it.
You see it. And because you see it, you don't know it. Because that object must have the capacity or knowledge. An object is nothing but knowledge. An object is nothing but knowledge. So, whether we recognize it or not, the object will be there. That means that knowledge is there all the time. I am trying to lead you slowly from ordinary understanding to a better understanding. Suppose it is you are newcomer, you come into this room and it is totally dark and you don't see this. But because you don't see doesn't mean the object is not there. When light comes, there is an object here and you name it. So that capacity of being recognized is possible because an object and its knowledge is one and the same. So every object is in the form of knowledge. In the form of knowledge. When it is cognized by our five sense organs, then we name it is an object. Do you see the point? Pada, artha, pada, artha. That is why in Sanskrit, so precise, every object is called padartha. Artha means what? Knowledge. Knowledge. So, what is the point I am trying to convey to you? That this whole universe as an object or God are eternal there. The whole world is an object. When is the whole world is an object? When you cognize it, it is an object. When you don't cognize it, it's not knowledge. That's called ignorance. And also there is some fun here. According to Vedanta, ignorance is not knowing. Ignorance is misunderstanding, wrong knowledge, not absence of knowledge. You see the point? Not absence of knowledge. It is mistaking, like mistaking a rope for a snake. So if it is total darkness, then you won't see the rope. Therefore, you don't also misunderstand. But if you happen to see it not very clearly, unclear light, then it is called Mistake. You see something, but your knowledge is mistaken. Anyway, what is the point I am driving at? Whether this whole world is an object. If it is an object, it is another form of knowledge. If there is knowledge, if the world is anadi, the knowledge of the world is also beginningless. If the whole world is beginningless, nobody is creating it. That's why, according to Vedanta, creation is eternal. Eternal means it is already there. So sometimes I enter into it, sometimes I remain outside it. So now we have entered into it. When you get liberation, what happens? So you come out of it. What is my point here? All this time I have been talking. What is my point here? An object or knowledge eternally exists. Nobody creates. Now I will take you one step further. I made world as an example. What is the world? A world is nothing but God mistaken. Like rope mistaken as a snake, when a person in semi-darkness looks at a rope, he doesn't think it is a rope. What does he think? It's a snake. But he has a knowledge. It's a wrong knowledge, but knowledge is there. So, if there is a rope, there would be knowledge. But depending upon how we are looking at it, so it could be right knowledge, it could be also wrong knowledge. Now apply this example to God. What we are looking at is only, this is the point. What are we looking at? God only. But we are looking in semi-darkness. What is that semi-darkness called? Maya, avidya. Through that lens, foggy lens, we are looking. And that is what we call world. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
So 2 points we made. What are the 2 points? If there is an object, there is a knowledge. You cannot separate an object from its knowledge. So that is called eternity of knowledge. Nobody creates knowledge, one only gets knowledge. Do you see the point now? Okay. What is the second point? I extended it. Since every object in this world and the totality of all these objects we experience is called world, the whole world is an object. Therefore, the whole world is nothing but knowledge. And what is this world? It is nothing but God. God looked at through Maya, lenses of Maya, is called world. World looked without any glasses is called God. You take this point, think over it. You are supposed to think over it.
One question. So these lenses vary from
Person to person.
So, but and we say that therefore the idea of the world in the mind
Yeah.
is very individualized and different.
Yes.
So when we say that the world doesn't exist,
Yeah.
and when the mind disappears, the world disappears.
Yeah.
That which is outside doesn't disappear. That which is inside disappears.
No, let me put it, more or less you came, let me put it that way. This idea of outside and inside is also part of that Maya, part of that foggy.
Of course.
Yeah. So, what remains for a person who has a clear vision? This is called Samyak Darshi, 2020 vision. So, what happens to him? First thing, he doesn't say, I exist, God also exists. The whole world is God. It is human language. We have to use it. How to describe it? Brahma with Brahmaya Bhavati is from a human point of view. He doesn't become. A non-Brahman doesn't become Brahman. Brahman who thinks he is not a Brahman now knows he is a Brahman. This is the meaning of becoming. Otherwise, becoming means, he was not a doctor, he became a doctor. Like that, the idea comes. So, this clear vision, these three, the whole universe are all human beings, they are putting on, to simplify the matters, three types of glasses. Tamasic glass, Rajasic glass and Sattvika glass. So, God is beyond the three glasses. So, through Sattvika glass, he sees much better. He knows it is God, but he knows I am separate from God. But when he takes out, then what does he say? He doesn't say I see God. What does he say? I am God. So, important point, let us not forget. Every object is its knowledge. Knowledge, when recognized, what we call object. And it creates separation. I have knowledge. So, I am the knower, it is something known. When realization comes, he doesn't say, I am seeing. What he says? I am seeing myself. Like oneself seeing in a mirror and say, I am looking at my own face. Okay, this is the idea. So, these 2 points, first of all, the world is nothing but knowledge. Second is, the world is nothing but God. Now, this leads to a third point, which is very important. World, knowledge of the world and knowledge of God, there are no two knowledges. Knowledge is only one. That is why Gnanam. Gnanam is only one. So, depending upon the lenses, sometimes we say everything is God. That is also differentiation. But others will say everything is not God and everything is separate from each other. Each other. I am separate from God, I am separate from you, I am separate from every object. So, that is the different degree of knowledge. Less knowledge, more separation. More knowledge, less separation. And complete knowledge, only I exist. Nothing but God exists. So, that is why now what is all this I am driving at? One point. Vedas are eternal. Why? Veda means knowledge. Knowledge is eternal. So, God also is an object at our state. God is not subject. God is an object, because I say, I see God, I hear God, I pray to God. So, important point Swamiji wants to say is that by Veda is meant that knowledge of God who is eternal. Because knowledge is eternal, it is not created by anybody. So, these 2 points. Knowledge is eternal, means beginningless and so endless. And knowledge is cannot be created, need not be created, should not be created. It is only discovery. And whoever discovers that knowledge, he has been given a special name. What is it called? Rishi, Mantra Drashta. We will come to that point much later on. So, now what I want to say, the person in whom this supersensuous power, means intuitive knowledge, is manifested is called a Rishi. And the supersensuous truths which he realizes by this power are called Vedas. What does this mean? A little bit I am taking time to make these points clear. So, what a Rishi discovers is only a knowledge which is already existing. Having realized that knowledge, a little bit of it, when he expresses it, passes it on to somebody, that goes by the name of Vedas. Or there is also another name for it. It is called Shruti, not Smriti. Shruti. Shruti means what? That he passes it on, he expresses it through sound. Shruti means to hear, into the ears of his disciple. Then the disciple passes it on onto his disciple. That is why Guru Parampara system has come. So, this Rishihood, this power of supersensuous perception of the Vedas is real religion. So, when can we say that we are religious? When can we say when we are religious?
When you hear this Shrutis.
when we are absolutely convinced that what we hear from the scriptures is alone the truth, then a change will come. This is called conversion also. This point is also called, in the Christian language they call it conversion. And in Hindu language we don't use that word conversion. That is the idea. A person suddenly becomes very seriously spiritual minded or religious person. Religion really. So when a person goes to a temple, if he doesn't have that much of belief, his life is not transformed. That's why we say we go only with various desires. But we want God also to be a samsari. I will be your devotee, I will pay this much a premium. That's why my definition of God. What? Interloka insurance company. Interloka insurance company. He protects not only in this world but also after death also. Yeah. That is what most of the religious people means. Okay. So, why so much progress is not happening in our spiritual lives? Because we have not yet become at least a little bit of rishis. Then Swamiji further says, this authority of the Vedas extends to all ages and climes. Why? Because knowledge is knowledge. It doesn't change according to the time, place and culture, etc. It works. That is why it is called Veda. Now, every important word here is Sanatana Dharma. What is Sanatana Dharma? How many religions are there in this world?
Just one.
That is what Sri Ramakrishna means, Sanatana. Sanatana means eternal religion. What is eternal religion? Since knowledge is eternal, since God is eternal, anybody who accepts that God, he is a religious person. So what about Hinduism, Christianity, Islam and all that? They are all different names because when they follow certain ways of behavior, then they are called by different names. But here there is something very important, so important it is. Regarding God, no religion ever says there are two gods. How many gods are there?
One.
Only one. Okay. Regarding sadhana, there is no controversy. You see, regarding spiritual practice, there is nothing called Hindu spiritual practice or Christian spiritual practice or Muslim spiritual practice. What is spiritual practice? That practice by which we become better and better and better people. That is called sadhana. So with that there is no controversy at all. A Christian saint also wants to become, a Christian man wants to become a saint. Don't even say Christian saint. There is nothing called Christian saint. So a Christian path, saint. Hindu path, saint. Muslim, Islamic path, saint. Buddhistic path, a saint is a man of God. That's all. Simple. So we already said that, So Veda doesn't entertain fanaticism. Real Veda is every Quran, every Bible, it is all, this is Veda only. With regard, very important point here, what is real Shastra? With regard to the whole Vedic collection of truths, this also has to be understood, that only those portions alone which do not refer to purely secular matters and which do not merely record tradition or history or merely provide incentives to duty form the Vedas in the real sense. This passage is most important passage. What is Vedas? Simply, I will put it in 3-4 sentences. God is. God is. Life is eternal. There is no death. And there is afterlife. There are also other worlds. God exists, afterlife exists, and there are also other worlds like this world. If these three points, whichever scripture tells us that truth, that is known by the word Veda. Veda means what? Knowledge. That knowledge of God, knowledge of afterlife, knowledge of other worlds is the true knowledge. Why is it called knowledge? So marvelous. So don't mind, I am taking time to clarify these points. What is knowledge? That which transforms our life is called knowledge. If it doesn't transform, what is it called? Information. So, okay. If somebody has got this knowledge, God exists, do you think that his life will not be transformed? Ramakrishna used to give that parable. There was a thief and he comes to next door.
There's a pot of gold.
There, not pot of gold, pots of gold. It makes a difference. Lot of invaluables are there and the partition is very thin. Do you think he will be able to sleep? This was the question. So it's very important example given by Ramakrishna. If we come to know God is the only being who loves us, and God alone can give us happiness, and God alone can save us from death, etc., do you think we depend upon all those things? Until that conviction doesn't come, we are not truly spiritual. But everything that we do is slowly leading to that. This also answers a very fundamental question. Why God created evil? Why did God create evil? Evil means suffering. Why did God create evil? Because if we do not go to God through other means, through suffering, we definitely go to God. That is the reason. Okay, what is important here, Swamiji is defining what is Veda. Why? Because 4 Vedas are there. Bible, the whole Quran. How many unnecessary secondary things are there? You have to behave like that, you have to behave like that, you have to speak truth, you have to do puja, you have to do sandhya. All these things are not Vedas. You see, if you squeeze what is Veda, which tells us those 3 truths. In fact, all those 3 truths can be put into one. What is that? God exists. If you say God exists, afterlife exists, other worlds exist, there is only existence, there is no non-existence. This point has been made so clear in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, I think it is 14th if I am not wrong. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate. Unreality has no existence. Reality never becomes non-existence. And those who know these 2 truths are real knowers of truth. Tattvadarshinaha. This is the fact. So, is this point clear? What is scripture? What is Veda? What is Veda?
God exists.
God exists. Life is eternal. There are also other spheres of experience. Only those 3. Why are they called Vedas? Because that knowledge cannot be got through our 5 sense organs. Very clear about it? Okay. Why is this so very clear? If you squeeze the whole Veda, only one sentence is real Veda. What is that one sentence?
God exists.
Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Brahman alone is real, everything else is unreal. You are Brahman. This is the only Veda. If you know this one sentence, you know all scriptures. Why is it Swamiji was defining? There must be a reason, not only to clarify, but there is a reason. What is the reason? If you go to this, what is called Jehovah Witnesses or Seventh-day Adventists and all, say whatever is written in my Bible is a revelation from God. A Hindu, what is called a fanatical Hindu will say, this Veda, Parama Veda. That's why we say it is Veda. If something is truth, he calls it Veda. It is Veda Vachana. Means what? Whatever is written in the Veda, a Brahmana says that you get up early in the morning, turn towards the east. That is Veda. That is not Veda. This is called Smriti. What is Smriti? So, how to make that Vedic truth our own, whatever helps, that is called Smriti. Rituals, mythologies, and certain types of behaviors, all these things fall under the category of Smriti. What is real Veda? God exists and you are that God. And I can go further, but we will. Simply one sentence I want to say, if God exists, I do not exist. Who exists? Only God. There is no place for me, for anybody, for the world. Either God exists or world exists. Either rope exists or snake exists. Both do not exist. That is the truth. Okay. So this is what he says, Puranas etc. have taken up these truths embodied in the Vedanta and have explained them in detail. So another point I already made, Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means what? Eternal. Eternal means what? Knowledge exists from the beginning. So there is no point. Now sixth point, Swami Vivekananda says about the what is called the avatar. Sri Ramakrishna is an avatar. In order to show how the Vedic truths, eternally existent as the instrument with the Creator in his work of creation, preservation, dissolution, reveal themselves spontaneously in the minds of the rishis, purified from all impressions of worldly attachment, and because such verification and confirmation of the scriptural truths will help the revival, reinstatement and spread of religion, the Lord, though the very embodiment of the Vedas, in this his new incarnation, has thoroughly discarded all external forms of learning. What is the answer? Ramakrishna did not study scriptures. He just learned alphabets and he gave up. Why did he give up? Was there a purpose behind it? So one point, very important point here, that whatever Sri Ramakrishna did, whatever he taught, contains a profound truths behind. So why did he not pursue academic learning? It's one of the questions. Here is the answer. What is the answer? It is to prove that Veda, whatever is taught in the Vedas, is Paramasatya, absolute truth. It is to prove that they are not mere words. That is correct. He had not studied. What is wrong if he studies and realizes God? That is a natural question that comes. What's wrong if he goes to college, etc.? What is the answer?
It becomes a reason or a side.
It becomes, you see, if you believe something, and for you, it might become the only truth. So to prove that what we believe, it could be right belief, it could be also wrong belief. For example, a real devotee of God believes God exists, that's fine. But a fanatic says that everybody is wrong excepting me, so I have a right to kill them. And Allah is highly pleased with me if I destroy the other people. If he really believes in it, he is ready to give up his life. And that is the false understanding, and that is why Sri Ramakrishna is born without any academic learning. One of the reasons is to prove academic learning is not necessary. But what is necessary? Shraddha, Viveka, Vairagya, that is necessary. These are the points which during course of our time. The next point is, why did Swami Vivekananda did not write? So once Girish Chandra Goswami had asked, you know that answer. So what did Swamiji say? He said, shall I make the image of a monkey while trying to make that of Shiva? Please don't request that. I shall very gladly do whatever you ask of me other than this. I would not even hesitate to revolutionize the world at your request, but I shall not be able to do the work you have suggested. If he means Ramakrishna was so profound, so great, that I have not understood him at all. I have not been able to know even a fraction of his life. Do you advise me to fashion a monkey while trying to mold an image of Shiva? I can't do it. Okay, this is very important discussion. My question, was Swami Vivekananda less equipped than Swami Saradananda to write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna?
No.
What would be your answer?
No.
In fact, he was more equipped. Then why did he not write? There is a reason. The reason is his mission was totally different. He has to preach, give something of Sri Ramakrishna. But the mission of writing his biography fell on the shoulders of Swami Saradananda. There are also certain reasons. One reason is that Swami Vivekananda's mission is different. Second reason is to write a biography properly, like a researcher, he needs plenty of time. So Swamiji passed away in 1902 and Swami Saradananda lived until 1926. Therefore, he had enough amount of time. He started 1909, his biography, and he did not complete it. So he went to Kamarpukur, he went to Jairam Bhatti, he went to all the people who were alive, including Hriday and Ramlal Dada, and collected all the information, verified whether our memory can become bad. All that takes time. That's why he did not write. So this is an important part. Different disciples have different missions in life. I will give you an example. M started collecting in memory, writing down notes, and later on compiled the Gospel of Ramakrishna. Swami Shivananda, he started writing. And then Sri Ramakrishna, and he said, that's not your goal, because he was not paying attention. He was just hearing and writing down. That's an important thing. So what happens is, when profound things are being taught, and if somebody's attention is there, he wants to catch the words and write. But that moment also is very significant, very valuable. That's very important. That's why don't listen to talks while driving. If you want to listen to any talk sincerely, you have to focus upon it and listen. That quality will be totally different. You can listen to some music while driving. That's fine. But not to a lecture. Because a lecture contains a lot of points. We can miss, very easily miss. Even while sitting here also we miss a lot of time. What to speak of while driving. Okay. Then is another beautiful, so many things are there. On another occasion, a disciple of Vivekananda asked him, do you believe Ramakrishna to be an avatara or an incarnation of God? Swamiji, tell me first, what do you mean by an avatara? Disciple. I mean one like Ramchandra, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus and others. Swamiji, I know Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna to be even greater than those you have just named. What to speak of believing, which is a petty thing, I know. Disciple, why do you not preach Ramakrishna as an avatara? You have indeed the power, eloquence and everything else needed to do it. Swamiji, truly I tell you, I have understood him very little. This is a very important point again. I have understood him very little. So Sri Ramakrishna himself gives an example. Two, three examples he gives. One example he gives is that once an ant went to a hill of sugar and he took one grain of sugar into its mouth and said, next time I will carry the whole hill. He will not be able to do it because each one of us can take only according to our capacity. Second point, very important point. Example he gives. Once he was telling to Girish Chandra Sri Ramakrishna, he says, even great people like Shukadeva and Vyasa and all these people, some saw Satchidananda Sagara from a distance, some they touched it, and people like Shukadeva drank how much? One drop and became unconscious. And Swamiji knew Sri Ramakrishna was none other than God Himself. Therefore, it is very correct to say, don't say out of humility he was saying, I know very little. He knows Bhaswara Bhava Sagara. He is an ocean of living ideals. It is not exaggeration, it is truth. That is why we can never say that we know, even not to talk of Sri Ramakrishna, even to say that we know even Swamiji or direct disciples will be an exaggeration. How much do we know? So important law is what is called Devo Bhutva Devam Yajet. Who can worship God? Only a God can worship God. That means unless I become you, I can never understand you. If I have to understand you, I have to become totally identified with you. And that is not possible for an ordinary person to identify himself with an avatar. Whatever little they can take, sincerely if they take, that will be okay. Okay. And Swami Vivekananda also tells, once in London, Vivekananda said to his audience, I am what I am, and what I am is always due to him, Ramakrishna. Whatever in me or in my words is good and true and eternal came to me from his mouth, his heart, his soul. Sri Ramakrishna is the spring of this phase of earth's religious life, etc. If I can show this world one glimpse of my master, I shall not live in vain. That means Swami Vivekananda was a Vivekananda because of whom? Because of Thakur. And that's why you should not take his words as an exaggeration. He said, if Sri Ramakrishna wished, out of dust he could create thousands of Vivekanandas. But out of compassion, he only allowed me this time to serve him. That's what he said. Okay. Why Swami Vivekananda? He did not write. There is something interesting. In New York, and this is what Swami Nirvanananda, an attendant of Swami Brahmananda, told us. In New York, Swamiji went to the podium to speak on My Master. Seeing the audience, he changed his mind. He thought that these worldly people wouldn't understand the Master, whose life was completely free from lust and gold, so it would be better not to speak on him. But meanwhile, the Master appeared before him and asked him to speak as it would do good to them, whatever good it does. Okay, Sister Devamata, she left an eyewitness account in Madison Square Concert Hall. Was full to the uttermost at that closing lecture. Every seat, every foot of standing room was occupied. As he entered the hall from a door at the side of the platform, one sensed a different mood in him. He seemed less confident as he approached his task reluctantly. He began his lecture with a long preamble, but once in his subject it swept him. The force of it drove him from one end of the platform to the other. It overflowed in a swift running stream of eloquence and feeling. The large audience listened in awed stillness, and at the close, many left the hall without speaking. As for myself, I was transfixed. The transcendental picture drawn overwhelmed me. When he was talking about Sri Ramakrishna, and rarely he spoke about Sri Ramakrishna. That was the condition of Swami Vivekananda. Then the last point, the life of Swami Vivekananda by his Eastern and Western disciples described reactions to this lecture. Says it so happened that he once spoke before a large audience gathered to hear him on My Master, full of the fire of renunciation that he was. When he saw before him the audience composed for the most part of worldly minded men and women, lacking in spiritual sympathy and earnestness, he felt that it would be a desecration to speak to them of his understanding and of his real feelings of devotion for Sri Ramakrishna. So instead, he launched out on a terrible denunciation of the vulgar, physical and materialistic ideas which underlay the whole of Western civilization. Hundreds of people left the hall abruptly. but in no way affected. He went on to the end. The next morning, the papers were filled with varying criticisms, some highly favorable, others severely critical in their analysis of what he had said, but all commenting on his fearlessness, sincerity, and frankness. When he himself read the report of his speech, he was stung with remorse. He wept bitterly for thus denouncing others and said, "My master could not see the evil side of man. He had nothing but love even for his worst vilifiers. It is nothing short of sacrilege on my part to abuse others and wound their feelings while speaking about my master. Really, I have not understood Sri Ramakrishna and totally unfit to speak about him." Swamiji wept and confessed his mistake of intolerance towards the Western materialistic outlook. He also expressed his humility and inability to talk about his master, who never criticized others. Swamiji's behavior proved that he was a great soul. He did not try to hide or justify his mistakes. This is what about why Swamiji, even though supremely qualified, did not write. What is the essence? 2 points. First, that was not his mission. And second, it requires tremendous amount of time. He came to deliver a message. That's why he said, I have a message to the West, like Buddha had a message to the East, and I delivered my message. The moment he finishes his mission, Sri Ramakrishna predicted he would give up his body. That's why Sister Nivedita, Swamiji, have you finished your mission? He said, yes. Do you know who you are? Yes. And she was stunned, because that means he would very soon give his body. So this is what. Also, we only completed 2 parts. Third part is how the great master came to be written. Later, Girish asked Saradananda to write about Sri Ramakrishna's divine life, his sadhana and his message. He feared that otherwise, in future, some less adept people might present the master in a narrow, incorrect way, which might eventually form a cult and defeat the purpose of his incarnation. So another occasion, what Swamiji said, Sharat will write. Swamiji himself said, Sharat will write. That was a prediction, and it came true in a very peculiar circumstance. Now the point here we have to understand is that even during Sri Ramakrishna's time, so many people started. For example, Ramchandra Datta started writing. One Girish Chandra Sen, he started writing. There are 3-4 gospels, so-called gospels of Sri Ramakrishna were there. And they were misrepresenting some of the things. In fact, Swami Brahmanandi also started to write the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. You know, Swami Brahmananda's Kathamrita, Words of the Master, a small printed book. And then one night, Swami Brahmanandaji got up, asked his attendant, quickly bring some pen and paper. And that book he was compiling. So the attendant asked, why at this time? He said, the master came and said, did I speak that one? Did I teach you that one? That was wrong. This is what I said. And then hurriedly he corrected it, and that was published in as the Words of the Master. Beautiful book. Okay. So Swamiji himself said that Sharat Maharaj was going to write. Now, important point here. One day at Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna fulfilled the wishes of his disciples like a Kalpataru. So Kalpataru has not happened only at Kasipur, it happened also at Dakshineshwar. Some asked for devotion, some knowledge, some liberation. Seeing Sharat silent, the master asked him, how would you like to realize God? What divine vision do you prefer to see in meditation? Sharat replied, I do not want to see any particular form of God in meditation. I want to see Him in all beings. I do not like visions. The master said with a smile, but that is the last word in spiritual attainment. You cannot have it all at once. Sharat Maharaj said, but I won't be satisfied with anything short of that, replied Sharat. I shall strive my best until I am able to attain it. At last, the master blessed him, saying, yes, you will attain it. In 1909, Saradananda began to write his monumental work, Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, the great master, in Bengali. This biography was translated as Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, by Swami Jagadananda in 1952. And my translation, this was Swami Chaitananda's, as Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play, was published in December 2003. Saradananda wrote his magnum opus in 5 volumes, beginning with volumes 3 and 4, then completing 2, then 1 and 5. So
he did that way?
he explained why he did not follow a chronological sequence as he worked. Unless people understand how the master remained in Bhavamukha, an exalted state between the absolute and the relative, and how the mood of a guru was natural to him, they will not be able to comprehend the master's wonderful character, unprecedented mental state, and extraordinary activities. That's why we tried to make the reader understand this subject at the outset by first writing the 3rd volume. Interesting fact. Once a monk asked Swami Saradananda to write about the life of Ramakrishna and to include all the incidents about him. The Swami replied, is it easy to write about the master? One should not undertake such work without having his command. If I get his command, I shall try. It's very important for us. When I get his command, then I will write. Some years later, when the Leela Prasanga was published, the same monk asked Saradananda whether he had received the command before writing the book. He avoided the question, saying, that's none of your business. One day, Asitananda, an attendant of Saradananda, worked up the courage to ask the Swami if he had experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Did I waste my time cutting grass when I lived in the company of Sri Ramakrishna? Saradananda replied. When the attendant pressed him for details, the Swami said, read the chapter on Samadhi in the Leela Prasanga. I have not written anything about Samadhi without experiencing it myself. It's a very important incident. Swami Saradananda had written very beautifully summarizing the tantric sadhanas. In order to understand it, he and I think Yogin Ma, or Golab Yogin Ma, I think, or Gaurima, both of them got initiated by a guru, is called Purnabhisheka. After getting initiated, he practiced tantric sadhanas, then he experienced some of the things, understood what Sri Ramakrishna did, and then only wrote about the tantric sadhanas. When the mother was in Calcutta, Saradananda used to read the manuscript to her. When she was in Jairambati, someone else would read it to her. She commented, everything has been written correctly in Sharat's book. That means she has given her seal of approval. Swami Saradananda wrote in the preface to the 3rd volume, the master told us explicitly again and again, he who was born as Rama and as Krishna in previous ages is now in this sheath, pointing it to his own body, that as Ramakrishna. The spiritual experiences of this place have surpassed even Veda and Vedanta. While recounting as impartially as possible the biography of Sri Ramakrishna, who was established in Bhavamukha, we were forced to admit that such an extraordinary life had never before been seen in spiritual world. So this is over now. Important point is that he had experienced and then he did. So we have covered this one. The next class after 2 weeks, so we are going to discover this. How many types of rishis are there? I'll just give you what is called appetizer. 2 points. Who is a rishi? a discoverer of knowledge. By that definition, whether he is a scientist, whether he is a musician, they are also called rishis. Einstein, for example, can be termed as a rishi. Jagadish Chandra Bose can be termed as a rishi. But there is a condition. There is a condition. Anybody and everybody cannot be a rishi. They must lead a pure life as directed by the scriptures. Only he can be called a rishi. So, if somebody is, for example, Stephen Hawking, can he be called a rishi? According to this definition, no. He is a great intellectual person, but not a rishi. So, what is the first definition of a rishi? A person who leads a spiritual life, a dharmic life, according to the directions of the scriptures. So, rishis are up to 3 types. How many? 3. Who are they? A rishi can be a monk. A rishi can be a married person. That's why even today we insist upon Vasishtha, Arundhati, Vishwamitra. In fact, Swamiji's incarnation was from the Saptarshis. So, the second point is they can be married persons. Third point is they can also be non-married persons. So, brahmacharis. They can be brahmacharis, they can be married persons, they can also be monks. What is common in all these 3? A rishi must be first leading a dharmic life. At the same time, he should be able to discover some truth which had not been discovered before. But that's why even a person discovers a scientific truth, he can be called a rishi, provided he leads that kind of life. And Jagadish Chandra Bose belongs to that category. Einstein also belongs to that category. What is it? They are not interested in Kama Kanchana. They never told a lie. Whatever they believed, they practiced. But the most ideal, according to Sri Ramakrishna, his own father, Kshudiram, was a rishi. He was venerated by everybody, recognized as a great rishi. So, these are 3 types of this thing. All of them must lead a dharmic life. So, our Vedic times, Swami Saradananda starts his book, Why India is the Central Place for Spirituality. There are several reasons he gives. The first 2 chapters, consisting of 16 pages, is all about why India is the pivot in this world of spirituality, why incarnations prefer to be born only in India, because they are free to be born anywhere. But why are they getting born only in India? Because if they are born, the circumstances, the social circumstances, the generality of the people, the atmosphere must also be appropriate for them. The general law is, if a seed has to become a good tree, the soil, the weather conditions, everything must be very appropriate. So, why is it so? Swamiji also gives a scientific reason for that. We will discuss in our next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.